Hi, I'm Aegis Cores, and if you're playing EU5 outside of Europe, falling behind on institutions can absolutely cripple your campaign. But you don't have to sit around for decades waiting for them to naturally spread into your country. In this video, I'll show you 3 ways you can accelerate institution spread using technology, diplomacy, and trade, including how fleet basing rights can help pull institutions directly towards your capital. I'm going to use Vijayanagar campaign as an example where institutions are spawning thousands of miles away in Europe. Using the mechanics, we can get them into India earlier than simply waiting for the natural spread and gaining a major technology advantage over our neighbors. And these strategies aren't specific to Vijayanagar. You can use them in India, Africa, or anywhere else you're struggling to get institutions into your land. So let's start with one setting you should check before you even begin your campaign setup. Before you start any campaign, you want to be going over to the Game Setup tab. On the flavor section, there's 2 areas that you can influence from an institution perspective. One is the institution spawn, dynamic or historical, are 2 options as well as random. Dynamic and historical are still Iron Man achievable. You can influence the dynamic institutions and it could potentially spawn in your own lands. The other section is the could have spawned option on the flavor. If you do disable, it'll slowly spread and it'll only spread immediately in the nation it spawns in. Whereas if you enable it, there are a number of cities that it potentially can spawn from an institution perspective. So it tends to spread those institutions to your lands much more quick. When you load up a new campaign, you will have embraced 2 of the 3 institutions in the Age of Traditions. The meritocracy will eventually spread to your lands from China. The second age will spawn 5 years into the campaign, and the institutions will be generated 1 to 5 years or so after the age is generated in 1342. For the most part, they will be generated in Italy, but I've seen professional armies be spread anywhere from France, England, Spain, over to Poland itself. So that one's a little bit more dynamic in terms of where it launches. However, the other 2 institutions, almost 100% of the time, will be somewhere in the Italian region. When I load up my Vijayanagar camp, I forgot to enable can spawn anywhere. So institutions in this campaign just slowly spread. So I had to wait for the institutions to spread to Egypt and Alexandria through their vassals, eventually get it to Yemen, where I have enough diplomatic range in order to spawn them into my territory. In my particular campaign, the second age institution spawned in Florence and Zena or Genoa. The third one, professional armies, a little bit more dynamic. This one spawned in Krakow, which is a little bit more unusual. When you're looking to spawn institutions in your lands, there's 3 areas you want to focus on. The first thing you want to focus on is technology and research. The second one will be diplomacy. And the third one is trade, as all options to spread the institutions into your land. When looking at the second age of technology, there's a couple of research items you want to prioritize in the banking tree. The first one being trade, and the second one is the diplomatic range. And as you progress to the third age, the New World tech tree has additional trade and diplomatic range. And lastly, in the third age, the printing press will allow you to foster institutions, which will allow you to spread those institutions to your land much more quickly. On my campaign in 1396, the institutions have already spread from Italy through Egypt and ultimately towards Yemen. I've been improving relationships with Yemen in order to get fleet basing rights and offer them fleet basing rights, which helps push the institutions directly to my capital. I was also able to improve opinions of Medina and Mecca, who are 2 Mamluk vassals, to purchase fleet basing rights from each. However, because Mamluks is their overlord, I can't offer them fleet basing rights. And the Mamluks sit outside of my diplomatic range. So as more nations in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, and the Horn of Africa start to embrace these institutions, you want to continually improve relations with them so that you can get more fleet basing rights. With those actions, the Renaissance in banking have started to spawn within my capital province. You can see the banking is going to spawn by 1403, which is 7 years from now. Meritocracy is also slowly starting to spread from China, which will spread by the 1410s or so. And the last way to spawn institutions into your land is through trade. Right now I have locked some trade in the Aden market, which is just pushing some of the institutions to my trade market there on the coastline. Right now it's estimated to be completed in the 1460s. However, the institution should spread in my capital much sooner. The AI is not utilizing these mechanics to spread to their territories. And that's really the key to institutions when you're playing outside of Europe. You don't have to just wait for them to eventually reach your lands. Prioritize diplomatic and trade range, use fleet-basing rights with countries that already embrace those institutions, and use trade to help push them into your markets. The earlier you can get those institutions, the earlier you can close the technology gap and start gaining an advantage over the countries around you. If you'd like to see this strategy play out in a full campaign, check out my latest Vijayanagar campaign playthrough, where I use it to help build one of the strongest economies in the world and eventually form Hindustan. I'll have that linked in the description and pinned comment. If this guide helped you out, please like the video and subscribe for more EU5 guides and campaigns. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.